The email from my dad was short and cold. Family dinner. Sunday. 6 p.m. Don't be late. I stared at my phone screen in my tiny apartment kitchen. The dirty dishes piled high reminded me why I dreaded these dinners. I'm Sarah, the middle child who never fit the Chin family mold. While my older brother Jason became a doctor and my younger sister Emma got her law degree, I chose to make videos about cooking. At least that's what they thought I did. The apartment buzzer rang at exactly 5:45 p.m. Mom always sent a car when she wanted to make sure I showed up. "You look thin," the driver said, glancing at me in the mirror. I ignored him, focusing on the mansions we passed. Each house grew bigger as we approached my parents' neighborhood. The Chin family home stood like a fortress of success: marble columns, perfectly cut grass, 3 luxury cars parked out front. I climbed the front steps slowly. The heavy wooden door opened before I could knock. Finally, my mother said, checking her gold watch. "Everyone's waiting in the dining room." Her tone told me this wasn't going to be a normal family dinner. The dining room felt like a courtroom. Jason sat straight in his chair, still wearing his white doctor's coat like a uniform. Emma had her laptop open, typing notes like she was preparing for trial. Even my little cousin Mike was there, though he kept playing games on his tablet. Dad stood at the head of the long table, hands behind his back like a judge. "Sit down, Sarah," he said, pointing to the empty chair at the opposite end. The distance between us felt like miles. Mom placed a folder in front of me before sitting down. "We need to talk," she said. Jason cleared his throat first. "We've been talking as a family," he began in his doctor voice. "About your future. About what's best for everyone." Emma looked up from her laptop. "The cooking videos, Sarah. They're embarrassing us. Do you know what people say when they find out we're related?" My stomach dropped. I opened the folder with shaking hands. Legal papers. Lots of them. The words jumped out at me. Removal from family will. End of financial support. No longer recognized as family member. "You're kicking me out?" I whispered. "It's not personal," Emma said, though her voice cracked a little. "It's about protecting the family name. The Chun name means something in this city." Dad nodded. "Your little cooking show makes us look like failures as parents. Like we raised a child who can't get a real job." I wanted to laugh, but my throat felt too tight. "A real job," I repeated. "Making videos about recipes isn't a career," Mom added. "It's a hobby that got out of hand. You're 25 years old, Sarah. When will you grow up and do something meaningful?" I looked around the table at the people who were supposed to love me no matter what. Jason avoided my eyes. Emma kept typing. Even little Mike glanced up from his game with a confused look. "Where do I sign?" I asked quietly. The room went silent. They'd expected tears, begging, promises to change. Instead, I reached for the pen. "Sarah, if you just listen to us," Mom started. "Where do I sign?" I repeated louder. Dad pointed to the bottom of the last page. My signature looked small next to all the legal words. 10 minutes later, I was officially not their daughter anymore. "You can still change your mind," Jason said as I stood to leave. He looked uncomfortable for the first time all evening. "Just stop the videos. Get a normal job. We could pretend this never happened." I picked up my purse and looked at each of them one last time. "You know what's funny? You're so worried about what people think, about the family name, about success. But you have no idea what I actually do." Emma closed her laptop. "What do you mean?" I smiled, though my heart was breaking. "Maybe you should have asked before you decided to throw me away." The front door closed behind me with a soft click. I walked to the street corner where the driver waited. My phone buzzed with a notification from my business banking app. Another payment had cleared, this one for $50,000. I couldn't help but laugh as I got in the car. They thought my little cooking show was embarrassing. They had no idea that my YouTube channel had 3 million subscribers. Or that companies paid me more in a month than Jason made in 3. Or that I owned 2 restaurants and a food truck business. As we drove away from the house where I grew up, I felt something unexpected: relief. For years, I'd hidden my success because I thought it would make them proud if I achieved it the right way. But they'd never seen my worth anyway.
My phone rang.
Sarah, did you see the email? It was Marcus, my business manager. Food Network wants to offer you a TV deal. 3 seasons guaranteed. I looked out the window at the city lights. Set up the meeting, I said. I'm ready to take things to the next level. 2 days later, I sat in my real office, not the tiny apartment kitchen they thought I worked from. The downtown building had 15 floors, and I owned the top 3. My assistant knocked on the door. Your friend Jessica is here, she said. Jessica burst in carrying coffee and looking worried. I heard what happened. Are you okay? I gestured around the office. The view of the city, the awards on the walls, the contracts spread across my desk. Do I look okay? She stared at everything with wide eyes. Sarah, this place is amazing. How long have you been hiding all this? 3 years, I admitted, sipping my coffee. At first, I was going to surprise them when the business got big enough. Then I realized they'd never approve anyway. Jessica walked to the window. These numbers on your contracts, Sarah, you're making millions. My phone rang. It was David, my publicist. The article comes out tomorrow, he said excitedly. Business Weekly's cover story. The secret success. How a 25-year-old built a food empire. They're calling you the youngest restaurant owner in the city's history. Jessica stared at me. Cover story? I grinned. Apparently, hiding success makes it even more impressive when people find out. The next morning, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. Unknown numbers, one after another. I ignored them all until I saw Emma's name on the screen. Sarah? Her voice sounded different. Smaller. We need to talk. All of us. Can you come over? I looked at the magazine on my desk, my face smiling back at me from the cover of Business Weekly. The headline read, Food Empire Built in Secret. I'm busy, I said. With what? She asked. Running my company. I replied and hung up. Marcus knocked and entered with a stack of newspapers. You're everywhere, he said, spreading them out. Food and wine, restaurant business, even the local news picked it up. He pointed to one headline, Local Family Disowns Daughter, not knowing she was a millionaire. I winced. How did they find out about the disowning? Someone at the restaurant recognized you, he explained. Put 2 and 2 together when your family story came out. My phone buzzed. A text from Jason. We made a mistake. Please call. I showed Marcus. What do you want to do? Nothing, I said, tossing the phone onto my desk. They made their choice. But the calls kept coming. Mom, Dad, even little cousin Mike somehow got my number. I turned the phone off and focused on work. My head chef called about the new restaurant opening. My video editor needed approval for next week's uploads. 2 more companies wanted sponsorship deals. This was my real life, not sitting around waiting for my family to accept me. Jessica came back with lunch. You know they're going to keep trying, she said. Let them try, I said, signing another contract. This one was for a cookbook deal, advance payment of $200,000. I spent years trying to make them proud. Now I'm making myself proud. The elevator dinged, and my assistant's voice came through the intercom. Sarah, there's someone here to see you. Says she's your sister? I looked at Jessica, who shrugged. Send her up, I said with a sigh. Emma appeared in my doorway 5 minutes later, looking nothing like the confident lawyer from Sunday dinner. Her eyes were red, and she kept twisting her hands. This office, she said quietly, looking around. How long have you had this? I leaned back in my chair. 2 years. The restaurants have been profitable for 3. She sat down without being invited. Sarah, we had no idea. The magazine article, the TV deal announcement. Why didn't you tell us? I almost laughed. When? Between you calling my work embarrassing or Dad saying I needed to get a real job. Emma looked down at her hands. We thought you were just playing around with videos. I was building an empire while you were judging me. Emma pulled out her phone and showed me something. Dad's been getting calls all morning. People asking why he disowned his successful daughter. The stories everywhere. On her screen was a news article with our family photo from last Christmas. The headline read, Successful restaurant owner cut off by family who didn't know about her business. I closed the laptop. That's not my problem anymore. Emma started crying. Sarah, please. We were wrong. So wrong.
Can we fix this?
I handed her a tissue, but stayed behind my desk. Fix what? I asked. You didn't make a mistake, Emma. You made a choice. You all did. She wiped her eyes. The papers we signed, we can tear them up. Pretend it never happened. I stood up and walked to my wall of awards. Business Person of the Year. Restaurant Innovation Award. Young Entrepreneur of the Decade. I pointed to each one. These happened after you disowned me. This success, this confidence, I built it without you. Emma stood up too. But we're family. You stopped being my family 3 days ago. My assistant knocked again. Sarah, the Food Network executives are here for your 2 o'clock meeting. I looked at Emma. I have a TV show to plan. 3 seasons, prime time, my own cooking show. Her face went pale. A TV show? But you said cooking videos were just for fun. I never said that. You assumed that. I walked toward the door. You can show yourself out. Security will escort you downstairs. Emma grabbed my arm. Sarah, wait. What about Mom and Dad? They're devastated. Jason feels terrible. I gently pulled away. They should have thought about that before they threw me away. The Food Network meeting went perfectly. 3 executives sat around my conference table, offering me everything I'd dreamed of. Your story is incredible, the lead executive said. Secret success, family drama, rising above it all. Viewers will love it. We discussed filming locations, episode formats, and merchandising deals. By the end of the meeting, I'd signed a contract worth more money than my family had ever seen. After they left, I sat alone in my office, looking out at the city. My phone buzzed with another text from Mom. Please come home. We need to talk. I called Jessica. Want to grab dinner? I asked. Somewhere fancy. I'm celebrating. We went to the most expensive restaurant in the city, one where my parents used to take business clients. The host recognized me immediately. Miss Chun. Congratulations on the magazine cover. Your usual table. I nodded, enjoying the looks from other diners. Over dessert, Jessica asked the question I'd been avoiding. Do you miss them? I thought about Sunday dinners, Christmas mornings, family vacations. I miss who I thought they were, I said finally. The next morning brought more surprises. A delivery truck parked outside my building. The driver carried in boxes of flowers, dozens of expensive arrangements. All for my family. The card said things like, please forgive us, and we love you, and come home. I had my assistant donate them all to the hospital. Then Marcus called with news. The biggest restaurant chain in the country wants to buy your recipes. They're offering 8 figures. 8 figures. More money than my parents had made in their entire careers combined. But the real shock came that afternoon. Dad showed up at my building. Security called before letting him up. He stood in my office doorway looking older than I remembered. Sarah, he said softly, may I come in? I gestured to the chair across from my desk. He sat down and looked around at the contracts, the awards, the view of the city. I had no idea, he said finally. The magnitude of what you've built. The success. The respect you've earned. I stayed quiet, letting him continue. We've been getting calls all day. Business partners asking why we cut ties with such a successful daughter. And that's what matters to you, I said. What your business partners think. Dad winced. No, that's not. Sarah, we made a terrible mistake. We judged you without understanding. We let pride and expectation blind us to your achievements. I leaned forward. Dad, do you even know what I do? Really know? He looked uncomfortable. You make cooking videos that became more? I pulled out my laptop and showed him my channel statistics. 3 million subscribers. Each video gets watched by more people than live in this entire city. Dad stared at the numbers. 3 million people watch you cook? 3 million people watch me teach them about food, about building confidence, about following their dreams even when you could have been proud of me anyway, I said. Success doesn't determine worth, Dad. Or at least, it shouldn't in a family. He sat back down, looking defeated. The business partners, the neighbors, everyone's asking the same question. How did we not know our own daughter was this successful? I pulled up another file on my computer. Because you never asked. In 3 years of building this empire, not one of you asked how my videos were doing. Not one of you wanted to see my apartment or meet my friends or understand my world. Dad was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. What can we do? How do we fix this? I closed the laptop and looked at him directly. You can't, I said simply. Some things once broken can't be fixed. His face went white. Sarah, please. We're your family. You were my family, I corrected. Until you decided I wasn't worthy of being yours. My intercom buzzed. Miss Chun, your 4 o'clock appointment is here. I stood up. I have a business to run, Dad. A business that's never disappointed me or judged my choices. He didn't leave immediately. Instead, he pulled out his phone and showed me something. Look, he said. It was a news article about my success, shared hundreds of times on social media. Everyone's talking about you, about what you've accomplished. I glanced at the screen. And that matters to you now? Because other people are impressed? Dad, put the phone away. It always mattered, Sarah. I didn't see it before. I walked him to the elevator. The difference is, I don't need your approval anymore. I built this success without it. That evening, Jessica came to my apartment, my real apartment, not the tiny place my family had seen. This one had floor-to-ceiling windows and a kitchen bigger than most people's living rooms. How are you feeling? She asked, opening a bottle of wine. Free, I said, surprising myself. For the first time in years, completely free. She raised her glass. To freedom, then. We clinked glasses, and I told her about Dad's visit. Do you think you'll ever forgive them? She asked. I looked out at the city lights. Maybe. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. The next few days brought a parade of family members to my office. Mom came with photo albums trying to remind me of good times. Jason brought medical journals where he'd seen my healthy cooking recipes referenced. Even little Mike showed up with a school project about successful entrepreneurs, featuring me. Each visit ended the same way, them asking how to fix things, me explaining they couldn't. The damage was done, but more importantly, I discovered I didn't need them to be complete. The turning point came a week later. Emma called, not to apologize or beg, but to warn me. There's a problem, she said. Some of Dad's business partners are questioning his judgment. If he could be so wrong about his own daughter, what else might he be wrong about? I felt a flicker of something. Concern? Old loyalty? That's not my problem, I said, but my voice lacked conviction. Emma continued, the family business is struggling. Dad's too proud to ask for help, but Sarah, your success could save us. I hung up and stared at my reflection in the office window. Outside, construction crews worked on my second restaurant location. Inside, my team planned the launch of my cooking show. Everything I'd built was solid, growing, successful. So why did Emma's call bother me? Marcus knocked and entered with more contracts. 3 more endorsement deals, he announced. And that cookbook? Pre-orders are breaking records. Success had its own momentum now, carrying me forward whether I wanted to go or not. That night, I couldn't sleep. I walked around my apartment, looking at awards and photos from restaurant openings. In every picture, I was surrounded by friends, business partners, my team, but no family. Had I won everything just to lose what mattered most? Or had what mattered most already been lost long before? My phone sat on the counter, full of missed calls from numbers I recognized. I picked it up, then put it down again. Some bridges, once burned, couldn't be rebuilt. The morning brought unexpected news. Marcus rushed into my office with his laptop. The stock market report, he said breathlessly. Your dad's company, it's in free fall. Investors are pulling out because of how they handled your situation. I read the article he showed me. Food mogul's family business crashes after disowning successful daughter. The irony was almost too much to handle. Their attempt to protect the family name had destroyed it instead. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Can we meet? Just you and me. I agreed to meet Mom at a small cafe, neutral ground. She looked tired when I arrived, wearing simple clothes instead of her usual designer outfits. Thank you for coming, she said as I sat down. I wasn't sure you would. We ordered coffee in silence. Finally, she spoke. I've been thinking about when you were little. Remember how you used to cook with me? You'd stand on that old step stool, helping me make dumplings. I remembered. Those were good times, before expectations and judgments took over. You always had a gift with food, Mom continued. But somewhere along the way, we stopped seeing that. We got caught up in what success was supposed to look like. I stirred my coffee. So you threw away what didn't fit your definition. She nodded, tears in her eyes. We threw away our daughter for an idea that was never real. The cafe bustled around us, families laughing, couples sharing meals, friends catching up. Normal relationships that hadn't been poisoned by unrealistic expectations and conditional love. The business is failing, Mom said quietly. Dad's too proud to admit it, but we're losing everything. The house, the cars, maybe even the company. I felt that flicker of concern again. And you want me to help? She shook her head. I want you to be happy. And I want you to know that your success, it was never about us. You did this despite us, and that makes it even more impressive. For the first time since the disowning, someone in my family had said something that felt true. I can't fix what you broke, I told her. The trust, the relationship, that's gone. Mom nodded. I know. But maybe we could start over? Not as the family that disowned you, but as people who want to know the amazing woman you've become. I looked at her, really looked. She seemed smaller, sadder, but also more honest than I'd seen her in years. It would have to be different, I said slowly. No more expectations. No more judgment. No more conditional love. She reached across the table and took my hand. Whatever you want, however you want to do this. That evening, I called an emergency meeting with my core team. Marcus, David, Jessica, and my head chef all gathered in my office. I need to ask you something, I began. What if we could help a struggling business? Not for money or publicity, but because it's the right thing to do. Marcus raised an eyebrow. What kind of business? I took a deep breath. My family's company. The room went silent. Finally, Jessica spoke. Sarah, are you sure? After what they did to you? I'm not sure about anything, I admitted. But I keep thinking, what if this success is supposed to mean something bigger than just me? David leaned forward. The optics could be incredible. Successful daughter saves family business despite being disowned. It's a powerful story. But Marcus looked concerned. It could also look like you're letting them win. Like their rejection didn't matter, because you came crawling back. I stood up and paced to the window. Or it could show that success means nothing without people to share it with. The next morning, I made a decision. I called Emma and asked her to set up a meeting with the whole family. Really? She asked, her voice hopeful. You'll see us? I'll see you, I clarified. But this isn't about forgiveness or fixing things. This is about business. The meeting was set for Sunday evening, exactly 1 week after they'd disowned me. I chose a neutral location, my restaurant's private dining room. If we were going to talk, it would be on my territory this time. Sunday arrived gray and rainy. I got to the restaurant early, watching through the window as my family's car pulled up. They looked nervous as they entered. Dad in his best suit, Mom clutching her purse, Jason and Emma walking close together like they needed each other's support. Even Mike was there, though he seemed more interested in the restaurant's decor than the family drama. Welcome to Chen's Kitchen, I said, not smiling. Please sit down. They took their seats at the round table, but nobody spoke. I placed a folder in front of each of them. Not legal papers this time, but business proposals. Your company is failing. I began without preamble. Stock down 40%, 3 major clients canceled contracts, and investors are fleeing. Dad's face reddened. How do you know all that? Because I do my research before any business meeting, I replied. And that's what this is, a business meeting. I opened my laptop and projected financial charts onto the wall. But there's a solution. Emma leaned forward, reading the proposal. You want to buy the company? I want to merge it with my food service division, I corrected. Keep the family business alive, but under new management.
Dad stood up suddenly.
Absolutely not. I won't let my daughter buy her way back into the family. I smiled coldly. You already decided I'm not your daughter, remember? This is purely business. Mom touched Dad's arm. Sit down, please. Let her finish. He reluctantly returned to his seat. The merger would save jobs, preserve the company name, and provide stability. I continued. In exchange, I get expanded distribution for my products and access to your client base. Jason finally spoke up. What about us? What about the family? I looked at each of them. What about it? You made it clear that business comes before family. So let's treat this like business. The room fell silent except for the rain. The contract signing took place in a lawyer's office downtown. My family sat on one side of a long conference table. I sat on the other with my legal team. No small talk, no family jokes, just signatures on legal documents. When it was over, Dad extended his hand across the table. Partners, he asked hopefully. I shook it briefly. Business partners, I corrected. Nothing more. As they left the office, I heard Mom whisper to Emma, Do you think she'll ever forgive us? Emma's response was quiet but clear. Would you? 6 months later, the merged company was thriving. The family business had been transformed into an eco-friendly operation that perfectly complemented my restaurant empire. Dad had adjusted to his reduced role, though I caught him looking at me with something like pride during board meetings. Mom sometimes stopped by the restaurants, always ordering but never staying long. Jason and Emma kept their distance, respecting the boundaries I'd established. The business relationship worked because it was honest about what it was. But the real transformation was in me. Success felt different now. Not like something I had to prove, but something I'd earned through my own choices. My cooking show was the highest-rated program on the Food Network. My restaurants had waiting lists months long. My cookbook topped bestseller lists for 37 weeks straight. The empire I'd built in secret had become a public testament to following your dreams despite opposition. One evening, I was closing up my flagship restaurant when I found Mom sitting alone at table 12. She wasn't eating, just holding a cup of tea that had long gone cold. We're closed, I said gently. She looked up with eyes that seemed older than I remembered. I know. I was hoping to talk to you. I sat across from her, the way we used to when I was little and had nightmares. About what? About how proud I am, she said simply. Not because of the money or fame. Because you never gave up on yourself when we gave up on you. It's too late for that conversation, Mom, I said, but my voice was softer than it had been in months. She nodded. I know, but I needed to say it anyway. She reached into her purse and pulled out something that made my breath catch, my old recipe notebook from when I was 12. I found this in the attic. Look at the first page. I opened it carefully. In my child's handwriting it said, Recipes to Make People Happy by Sarah Chin. Below that, in Mom's handwriting, the most important ingredient is love. You wrote that, I said, tracing the faded ink. When you were helping me with my first attempt at dumplings. She smiled sadly. You got flour everywhere. The kitchen looked like a bomb went off. But you were so determined to get it right. I closed the notebook, memories flooding back. What happened to us, Mom? When did we stop seeing the best in each other? She was quiet for a long moment. When we started caring more about what other people thought than what we felt. I looked around my restaurant, at the photos on the walls showing happy customers, successful events, moments of joy I'd created through food. Do you know why I really started cooking? I asked. Mom shook her head. Because it was the only time our family felt peaceful. When we were all in the kitchen together, working toward the same goal, nobody was judging or criticizing or trying to fix each other. Mom's eyes filled with tears. We lost that, didn't we? We lost the recipe for being a family. Maybe, I said, standing up. But maybe some recipes can be recreated, even if they'll never taste exactly the same. I walked to the kitchen and returned with 2 plates of my signature dish, the one that had made me famous. "Try this," I said, setting a plate in front of her. She took a bite and closed her eyes. "It tastes like home," she whispered. "It tastes like the daughter I should have supported instead of changing." We ate in comfortable silence for the first time in years. As Mom prepared to leave, she paused at the door. "Sarah, I know we can never go back to how things were. But is there any chance we could try moving forward?" I considered her question carefully. "Not as the family we were," I said finally, "but maybe as the people we're becoming." She nodded, understanding the distinction. "I'll take whatever relationship you're willing to give me." After she left, I sat alone in my restaurant, thinking about second chances and whether some bridges could be rebuilt differently rather than repaired. The next morning brought surprising news. Jessica burst into my office with her laptop. "Sarah, you need to see this." On her screen was a video, Dad being interviewed by a local business reporter. "My daughter taught me something important," he was saying. "Success isn't about meeting other people's expectations. It's about having the courage to follow your own path, even when the people who should support you don't." The interviewer asked about our relationship. Dad's answer surprised me. "She's my daughter, and I'm proud of her. Whether she forgives me or not doesn't change that." I called Emma that afternoon. "Did you see Dad's interview?"
"We all did," she said.
Jason cried. "Mike asked why we were so mean to you." Even Dad seemed surprised by his own words. I leaned back in my chair. "People can change, can't they?" "Some can," Emma replied. "The question is whether you're willing to let them." That evening, I made a decision that would have seemed impossible a year ago. I called Dad and asked if he wanted to have dinner, not a business meeting, just dinner. We met at a small family restaurant, the kind of place where I'd learned to love cooking by watching the kitchen staff work. Dad looked nervous as he sat across from me. "Thank you for this," he said. "I wasn't sure you'd ever speak to me again outside of board meetings. I ordered for both of us comfort food, the kind we used to share when I was little." "I saw your interview," I said. He looked embarrassed. I meant every word. Took me too long to say it publicly, but I meant it. Over dinner, we talked about things we'd never discussed before, his fears about failing as a father, my loneliness during the years I built my business alone, the pressure we'd both felt to live up to impossible standards. "I was wrong to judge your choices," he admitted. "But more than that, I was wrong to make my love conditional on your success." I set down my fork. The success never mattered to me as much as having you believe in me. "I do now," he said quietly. "I hope that counts for something." As we prepared to leave, Dad pulled out his phone and showed me something that made me smile, a photo of him watching my cooking show. "I've seen every episode," he admitted sheepishly. "Even bought your cookbook. The recipes are incredible, but what I love most is hearing the joy in your voice when you cook." We hugged goodbye, tentatively at first, then tighter. It wasn't forgiveness exactly, but it was a beginning. Some relationships, I realized, could be rebuilt from scratch, even stronger than before. A year later, I stood in my newest restaurant, this one dedicated to traditional family recipes from around the world. The opening night was perfect, with critics raving about both the food and the concept. But what made it special was looking out at the dining room and seeing my family at table 12, Mom, Dad, Jason, Emma, and Mike, all laughing together like we hadn't in years. They weren't there because they had to be, but because they wanted to be. That made all the difference. During my opening speech, I talked about the inspiration for the restaurant. "Family recipes tell stories," I said to the crowded room. "They connect us to our past and carry us into our future. But the most important ingredient in any family recipe isn't something you can buy at a store. It's the love, respect, and acceptance we bring to the table." My family applauded with everyone else, and for the first time in years, their pride in me felt genuine rather than conditional. Later that night, after the last guest had left, my family helped me clean up. It reminded me of those childhood days in the kitchen, working together toward a common goal. "So, what's next?" Emma asked as we stacked chairs. I looked around at the restaurant I'd built, the empire that had grown from a tiny apartment kitchen, the family that had learned to see me for who I really was. More of this, I said simply. More creating, more building, more proving that success tastes best when shared with people who truly know you. As we locked up and prepared to go our separate ways, Dad stopped me. Sarah, I want you to know something. The day we disowned you was the worst mistake of my life. But watching you build this empire, seeing you become this incredible woman, I understand now that you never needed our approval to be amazing. I hugged him tight. I know, Dad. And I understand now that needing approval and deserving respect are two different things. We'd all learned hard lessons about family, success, and what really matters. 6 months later, I received an award for Entrepreneur of the Year. As I stood on stage holding the crystal trophy, I looked out at the audience and saw my family in the front row, not because they wanted to be associated with my success, but because they genuinely loved and supported me. In my acceptance speech, I said something that would have surprised the girl who got disowned 2 years earlier. Success isn't measured by what you achieve, but by who stands with you when you achieve it. I'm grateful to have learned the difference between conditional and unconditional love. Sometimes losing everything teaches you what was never really yours to begin with, and helps you find what truly is. The standing ovation felt like vindication, but the smiles on my family's faces felt like home.